Okay guys, welcome back to another setup on Project Cars. Today we're going to be looking at the Aston Martin V12 Gt3 car around the Monza track. This lap actually got me 6th place. It says 7th on the leaderboard, but the top time is a glitch time, so it's 6th. And it was after I'd say about 45 to an hour of just hot lapping it after we'd done about an hour's work on the setup. So we're going to start our lap and we're going to brake a little bit earlier for turn 1 than what we did when we were driving the Z4. You see, we're going to brake just before the 150. You can see that was a little bit earlier than what we did in the Z4. And we're going to try and clip that curb in first gear and clip it again and get on the power as early as you can just to get as much speed out of this exit as possible. We did it okay this bend, but we could have got a bit more exit speed. We bogged down a bit with the differential kicking in a bit, so we didn't get the perfect exit from that corner, although it was better than our previous best lap, but could have been better. And then we're going to look at the bridge again, braking down into second gear. Just try and hold the brake pedal while you're like getting on the accelerator there, just to ease the car into that corner and get on the power as early as you can coming out the corner, and back down to third gear, chucking it into the first part of the Lesmo, then on the power as early as possible. We actually ran a little bit wide, then lost maybe another 10th or so in the middle sector, then back down to third gear to the second part of the Lesmo on the power as early as possible. We actually got on the power, we went a bit wide there, but we actually managed to maintain the power on the exit, so I don't think we lost too much time on that part of the corner. Maybe a 10th in the first sector and 10th in the middle sector so far, and possibly another 10th on this bend as we break down to third gear and we clip the curb, but we don't manage to get on the power as early as I would have liked there. We held it a bit too long, getting on into fourth gear and heading our way down the straight now. So we probably lost about 2 tenths in the middle sector and a 10th in the first sector. And this last bend again, we lost time on this last bend compared to what we did is in a perfect lap. You can see we break down to third gear and we don't get it into that apex perfectly, and now we're running a little bit wide and we're on the outside of the bend, compromising the exit slightly. But the only problem is, the only good thing about that is because you're taking that wide line, you do get a slight increase in speed coming out of the corner, and we go over the line for a 1 minute 42.9 I think it is, yeah. So it puts us in 6th place on the leaderboard. Now we'll have a look at our potential there. You can see from the hour we spent in hot lapping, our potential was a 1 minute 42.5, which would put us second on the leaderboard, but obviously it'd take probably a couple of days of hot lapping to get that time. It's not going to be a time that I just get straight away. The setup felt nice when I was doing it in the consistency testing on just free practice, just driving it around. It felt reasonably consistent. Okay, so we're going to have a look at the setup. We lowered the tyre pressures down from the default setup just to give us a bit more traction coming out the corners. And the brake duct, obviously, that's something you're going to lower down for a hot lapping session. You're going to lower that down to maybe 5-10% for when you're hot lapping. Brake mapping, consider altering that up one maybe. I didn't try it in the practice session, but it's something that I would have a look at doing just to stabilise the rear end slightly going into some of the braking zones. Gearing as low as you can go on the final drive, as you can't really change anything else because the car's got a high top speed anyway. Limited slip acceleration, I went up to 21%. You may want to go down if you find it too loose on the back end, or if you feel it's not lively enough, up that slightly. Deceleration lock 70%, I would consider maybe upping that to 75%. Maybe I'd have a little experiment with that also. Limited slip I found 60 nice, 40 would be okay, but it might be a little bit too risky when getting on the power coming through the last chicane before the back straights. Radiator 5% for a hot lap, maybe 15 to 20% if you're in a race. Remember, you don't need it too high for a track like this. Obviously with the long straights it gets a lot of air in when you're running it anyway, so you don't need to go too high up on the radiator. Bump stops, we actually lowered these bump stops down from the default. They were originally on 25 and I found it a bit too twitchy on some of the bends. We lowered it down to 20 just to give us a bit more stability going through the corners. You see with the setup we tried to give basically the rear end a bit more grip than the front end. Stiffer front end, softer rear, just to give us that traction coming out the slower corners, and obviously with this being a speed track we want the traction for acceleration. Ride height, we tried it lower, it felt okay but just a bit too risky on the curbs, especially the last chicane before the back straights. Bit risky going through there with it lower, so we upped that slightly. It's still not perfect for that chicane. I would maybe look at making some changes still to the setup for that chicane, but this setup will do as a base setup to get you very competitive online and in any league racing you want to do. It would be a great start. With regards to the sway bars, you can see we ran them pretty much not far after the default, to be honest. We just made very few slight adjustments with that. Casters, we moved them up for speed, and also the cambers, we've lowered the cambers right down to give us more speed in a straight line. And the front toe's been lowered down to 0, yes, just to give us more speed again. Just bear in mind with the cambers, we're different values on the right hand side. Obviously with it being mainly right hand corners, we need more camber on the left hand side, and it might not be a massive advantage, but any advantage we can gain we're going to use. Rear toe also I'd consider upping that to 4 or 5 just to see if it gives a bit more stability on the rear going through some of the chicanes. It might help out. Downforce 0.1. I would recommend trying 0.2. Didn't get around to trying it with the setup, I just went low as possible straight away, but 0.2 actually might be reasonable because this car's so fast anyway. You might find 0.2 gives you a bit more grip on the rear. I'll have to try that out, especially for online like league racing, etc., where you want a bit more consistency. I'd maybe possibly look at 0.2 for that edging consistency. Okay, so with regards to the longitude weight bias, we actually did move that one click over to the right, so it's maximum on the rear, just to give us more grip coming out of the slow corners, to aid acceleration grip and just give us maybe an extra miles per hour by the time we reach the end of the straights. Force feedback, didn't touch any of this, just left this completely standard. It didn't feel like I needed to adjust anything. I was reasonably happy with it as it was. I've got my base settings right now, so I don't really feel like I need to adjust any other settings within the force feedback. Okay guys, I'm going to leave you with the video from the TV replay cameras of the lap for yourselves to have a little watch, see if there's anything you can pick up, any areas that you might see different lines, etc. And another thing I want you to let me know is if you want to see a new setup on this Monza track in a different GT3 car, which GT3 car would you like me to do? I've already done the Z4 on the PC, and this is the Aston Martin. Maybe have a look at looking at the Audi R8 GT3. I've not actually done that on the PC. I've done it on the PS4 obviously, and I'm presuming the setups will correspond, but it'd be interesting to see how fast we can get it on the PC, whether it's exactly the same. I'm guessing it's going to be identical because the Aston Martin is exactly the same time as I did on the PS4, I think, pretty much. I think it was maybe half a tenth faster on the PC than what I've managed on the PS4, but like I say, I've never pushed them on either, so if I push them both, I'm guessing they'd be identical. So again, the times are matching exactly the same on PC to PS4. Anyway guys, I'll leave you with this video. Make sure you subscribe if you've liked this video. Make sure you give it a thumbs up. Thanks again for watching.